Huzzah and well met, my champions. I just want to take a quick moment on this video to say thank you for all the new followers and subscribers flocking to my banners lately. There's been a lot of new views, new likes, and a few new subscribers, followers. I'm also on Rumble, so whichever one, thank you. I very much appreciate it. It makes me want to keep doing this, even when you can probably tell by how I sound that I'm not feeling well. But you guys tune in here to see my builds and have an encyclopedic knowledge of redstone farms, which is what I'm attempting to congregate here. So, without too much more fanfare, let's get right into it. Today I've got for you a flower farm that I learned from Silent Whisperer, and I will link their channel in the description of the video. What it does for you is bone meals grass blocks and gets you all kinds of single high flowers. It doesn't seem to get you any of the two high flowers, but there is a tiny farm that I can make in another video to show you how to make plenty of those. You will, however, get all three of your primary colors, and as long as you have the cactus farm from my last video, you'll have all the dye colors that you'll ever need, except black. You'll need to kill lots of squids for that. So, anyways, let's get right into it, as this is going to be a big video anyways. Uh, we don't want to waste too much time. So what you're going to start with is a 12 by 12 platform. And I have since decided that I would like to expand the storage. So we will be in the, well, let me get started here, or show you how to get started. You'll go from the back left corner, one block in, or one block to the right anyways, and you'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 diagonally. At the sixth block, you'll carve one down and put in a dropper. You'll put on top of that another dropper, and then you'll put a dispenser on top of that. So we will quickly fill this back in for consistency's sake so everything can be tidy. And then what you'll have to do is break out under here and put in an observer. Then that observer is going to sit on a block that it activates, so we have our light blue concrete, as you've come to expect from my videos. This is our first of 4 circuits, so we're going to be using some different colors today. Get yourself a repeater here. This repeater is on 4 ticks. When you set a repeater down, it starts at 1, 2, 3, 4. Running directly into this comparator. Ooh, excuse me. Running directly into this comparator that we're putting in subtract mode. This circuit, a comparator in subtract mode, will get a signal from the back or from either side. It will think to itself, hey, there is a signal. That any signal to it is 15 minus the strength of the signal it's actually receiving. And then it will send that signal onward. We're only sending it 1 block away into this light blue concrete, which will power this redstone and power this redstone and back into itself. And it will say, hey, there's a signal. So what we end up with is something of a pulse extender. And we get 2 clicks because the circuit gets, or the power gets caught here for a moment and recycles around twice, powering our droppers and our dispenser here. We'll need the dispenser in the next step. And because of the delay, we get a moment between the observation and the action from the dispenser. So, moving on. Once you've completed this, you can take this wool out. It's going to need to be out of the way. Don't break your platform if you like things to be on nice, neat, tidy platforms. And we're going to start with a 7 by 7 platform on top of, right on top of your dispenser and observer. So here's our dispenser and observer setup. This one doesn't have the expanded storage underneath, but that's all right. You watched me put it in, or watched me put it in. You'll eventually run hoppers all the way through, but we'll see that later when we actually do the storage for this farm, or the collection system anyways. So you'll do this 7x7 platform. Keep track of where your center block is, but don't cover it with a solid block. Use glass so that you don't kill your grass. You'll put an eighth column to the right side of your farm if you're following along specifically. You can do to either side if you want your switch to be over there, you want to build this in the mirror. That's just fine. And what you'll do is you'll run pistons along both sides. Remember, pistons have the business end facing to you when you place them, so you'll stand up here and place them. You'll need some temporary blocks to do it. This is our second circuit. This is power for our pistons. And what a heap of noise that is. So we'll run redstone across all of these pistons so that they're active, and we'll come down here to a very basic redstone clock. Now, based on the portions that we connect to on the redstone clock, actually, I'll show you. As this circuit cycles, it will send the signal along this back row here. Now, you can use slabs. It's not necessary, but I know some people like to save on materials in their builds. That's just fine. Slabs work just as well, but it isn't necessary. This repeater has no delay. It's just placed down into our block that's powered, so that is part of our circuit, and that's why we're using cyan here for this circuit. Run redstone dust all the way across the top into a block. So what happens is, as the dirt moves, the observer observes the change above it and powers our little pulse extender down here, and twice ticks our dispenser to dispense bone meal. Now with bone meal, if the dispenser can't actually use it, if, for instance, you've already used bone meal on the block, let's grab some and demonstrate this. Whoops, it'll be under nature, not devices. You will place the bone meal. It will grow the grass tall, but once the grass is tall, I can click, 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 and it will not use up any more bone meal on that grass or that block. You can target the block specifically as well, but I hope you can hear me clicking furiously. No use of bone meal. So the dispenser behaves the exact same way. If the block cannot be bone mealed, it will not use up bone meal. So you don't have a wasteful system underneath here. You see we got one dandelion already. If you're trying for a rabbit farm, keep those. Otherwise, they're good for yellow dye. All right, now we're going to add our third circuit. And what this circuit does for us, you're going to start by putting down some blocks. 1, 2, 3. Under your third piston, we put down 2 blocks. Put repeaters on both with no delay. More blocks, comparators in regular mode. It needs a block to power, so we're using this regular blue concrete. You can use whatever block that you'd like. I do this so that you can easily see what circuits are what, and we can keep things from looking like spaghetti and not being able to tell. You do not need this button for any function other than to make this redstone face that way. And now I need to grab another button. You'll place it there to make that redstone dust behave. That is its only function. Don't push it. It won't break your farm, but it does nothing. So what you're going to do is to place 2 hoppers next to these repeaters. You're going to first place one on the repeater, I gotta be out of the way. And then facing into that hopper, another hopper. Then we're going to break our first one. And these hoppers are going to face each other. Now, place a redstone block right there. This circuit is how we time our water collection system. So when that activates, it will activate all of these dispensers which have water sources in them, and will move all of our flowers to the collection system that we'll build in another step. You'll see we've placed redstone dust on these two blocks so that when this circuit activates, or I'm sorry, these will be active, and this will power these repeaters, which will regulate these hoppers. What we're going to do with these hoppers is place 34 items into that. So, what that does is the comparator sees that this hopper has items in it. It runs the power through our block, through this redstone. You can see it sparking, and extends our piston. All of the items will one by one travel through to the other piston, or excuse me, to the other hopper, which will then activate this side of the circuit, powering our redstone and powering our piston, which will push the redstone block over this way. What that does is interrupt for a time. Well, we'll have to build the next set, or the next circuit, but it will interrupt our clock back here in a moment and allow all of our dispensers to fire, stopping our pistons and allowing all the water to wash everything down to our collection system right here. So let's move on to there, because I know this is getting a little difficult to follow without being able to see it. Explaining it is anyways. So we'll place a redstone torch here. That will power this redstone dust. So when this side of the circuit activates, it will lock the hopper. The redstone block will move, but it doesn't actually power anything. Pardon me. It will power this redstone dust and power this repeater on 4 ticks. 2, 3, 4 ticks. This is a different sort of pulse extender. It will power this redstone and this redstone and this redstone. It will also power this comparator, which will power this block and power this redstone dust, which powers this comparator. The comparator gets a signal, and it sends it onward. If it gets enough signal, which it should once we power all of this through, it sends it into this repeater, which stops our clock. This redstone dust is how our clock was cycling redstone power when we flip our switch on. When this repeater turns on, it makes this be powered all the time that this pulse extension is active, which will stop the clock, which will stop the pistons moving. It will activate this redstone torch, which will activate this dropper. The only thing this dropper does is do something so that this observer can observe it. That observer will power this block, which will power all of our redstone back here. Well, let's put one in so that we can see this in action. And I did add items, I believe. Yes. So we'll come watch down here, even though this is noisy. And you may have noticed that we broke our redstone right here. Not the worst thing in the world. We fixed that very quickly. But as you watched, when our circuit, when our hopper clock, these are called hopper clocks. When this redstone block moved this way, it activated this torch, stopped all of our pistons, and activated the water dispenser up here. Now, I'm glad I only used one so it didn't wash away more things or more pieces from the other farms and the other steps. So, the last thing to understand is that this redstone here, every time this one turns on, what this switch is doing first of all, is stopping our clock from cycling. So while it's on, it's not a big deal. It will keep these hoppers locked up. As this signal comes back cycling from our clock in the back there, it will activate this redstone, which will activate these repeaters, which will lock these hoppers. So items only go one at a time when this redstone line is turned off. Which, once again, just for review, that will send a signal to this redstone torch eventually, once all 34 items have moved over. Once they move back to this side, as we're looking at it, that's the right side of the circuit. When it's in the left side, it does nothing. When it's in the right side, it activates this pulse extender to jam up our clock for a moment and allow these to activate and then deactivate so they suck up all the water again. And then our pistons can move the grass back and forth once again. So finally, we have, that's the end of the redstone circuits for now. We're going to set in our collection system, and we've got to come in from the side here. Right up behind these circuits. This is why you want this button here, is so that this redstone doesn't lock up your collection hoppers. These farms are very productive, and you need the hoppers to be double speed into chests. So I'll give you a side view here. Back up a little so you can see it properly. We have the hopper under the water pointing into a hopper that's pointing directly down into a chest. Right below our lateral hopper, we have another one pointing sideways into the back of the chest. You'll have this chest here as well with the same double speed setup. This center chest is going to be where you place all the bone meal, and it's going to run back to the droppers back there that we built in the first step. All right, now you're going to close all this in with glass. You do need to use glass so that light can get in here for the grass, and your grass will not die in the darkness. You'll place 2 water sources here and here. That way, the water runs either way, and your items don't get caught in this middle block not going anywhere. Place a button here so that items don't get hung up right between the 2 blocks. And then, as you can see, the water will wash them out to the hoppers. The hoppers will quickly suck up everything. So you shouldn't have too much trouble with collections or any losses that way. So we want to backtrack one moment here to this step, because now we're going to show you how the dispenser works. Well, I did show you that, the circuit. You're going to place dispensers in front of that green circuit. Now in this build, I used a lime green block down here and regular green up here. This is really one circuit, but since this one serves a dual function as our pulse extender, I gave it a different coloration. Don't worry, this is some fairly easy redstone. This torch will be deactivated when this circuit, this pulse extender that we built, activates. So the torch will turn off. Once it turns back on, the dropper will fire, or attempt to fire. The observer will observe that, send the signal up, powering all the redstone here, which will power all of our dispensers. These must be dispensers. Otherwise, droppers will not work. They will just puke out a water bucket for you. to pick up as an item. All right, so finally, with the grass for flowers, we want to build this grass block awning above with the checkerboard on top. This is because once your water flows come out of your dispensers, it is possible that they will kill your grass and you'll just have a dirt block, and nothing grows on dirt blocks. So, these are here to help facilitate regrowth once that happens. If you get far too many dead grass blocks inside, your farm won't be as productive, and eventually you could kill off your entire farm, and then it wouldn't work at all. So these help to keep that from happening. You do need to do the checkerboard pattern so that there's enough light coming through, and these do need to be grass blocks to help spread grass faster. So that's really it for the farm. We can show you how this works, even though it's loud and noisy. Oh, looks like I already put items in this one during testing. So we'll fill this one up with some bone meal. We'll get ready to turn it on. So before I do turn it on and demonstrate, we can also do this with the warped nylium, or nelium if you prefer to pronounce it that way. I'm not sure which one is correct. I've heard it both ways. Or crimson. The warped one sometimes just doesn't work. It's some sort of bug that keeps bone meal from actually working on warped nelium or nylium just at random. So your rates will be a little bit slower, but you'll still get plenty of all the fungus and roots and sprouts. I don't believe you'll get vines from this one. With the crimson, we have one other consideration. You will have to go. Now these ones are expanded. This farm is expanded so that these all work on the same timing circuits, and the only thing underneath them is the bone mealing apparatus. What we need, so this is not going to be a very good working Crimson Farm. The Crimson Farm goes very fast, so what you need to do with that one is, instead of 34 items in your hoppers, you need to have 34 items for a grass farm and 34 items in the hoppers for a warped farm. But in a Crimson Farm, 17. It is twice as fast, so you need the water dispensers to be firing um, twice as often. And I see I've put too many dispensers in there. We'd have a problem. So real quickly, what we're going to do is finish up this extension circuit. You need repeaters to keep carrying the signal all the way. If you wanted to count it out, a signal will go 15 spots before you need a repeater to make it happen again. So at any rate, goodness, excuse me again. As I said, I'm not well tonight, so I do apologize if the coughing is breaking your eardrums through the headphones. What you do to extend this, it's super easy. Where you would normally take, let's see if we can get a clearer view without the dispensers. So where you've run your clock here to this other side, you will just add another block. It's going to be a circuit block, and then you'll need a torch. We're going to do this here, and it's going to interrupt the circuit. But to expand it, and then you just run another line of pistons, and I'll show you how that looks over here. So there's our repeater for our original one with all of our timing circuits. They'll all run off from the same timing circuit. So they'll all activate all of these dispensers at the same time. The cycle clock for our pistons will operate all of these. You don't need to build any more. You just need to go underneath and build a bone meal dispenser or a bone meal pulse circuit as we did in step 1. So you can rewind the video and go see that. Make sure it's right under the center of your farm. Find your... Well, I've done something wrong here that I see. This farm is too skinny. We didn't add the 8th row on this side, so we'll just disregard that for now. I'm not going to redo it here while you're watching. This video is already 25 minutes long. So we'll activate this just so you can see what's happening. We placed our bone meal into the input chest here. It's obviously gone because it got hoppered all to our dispenser. Look at it go. As I said, you'll get all the primary colors. So between that and having the cactus from the last farm, it seems we're out of bone meal now. I want to watch the water activate. Here it goes. Oh. It would help to actually put water in the dispensers, wouldn't it? How silly. But you get the idea. This one should have water in it as well. Yeah, these ones are activated, so I'll show you this one once more very quickly. We'll take the items out of the hopper so that clock cycles much faster. And then about took my nose off. Alright. So we'll just do a half speed. Actually, we'll do even faster than that because I don't want to waste a bunch of time just watching this thing be noisy at us. So we'll activate. Oh. See, we got one dead grass right there. Alright, I have completely done something wrong there. So, let's figure out what I did wrong, because troubleshooting is always a good thing to know. Alright, we'll just put the standard amount in and see what we've done here. This is activated for some reason, which means, okay, that's just fine. You can put a button there in case you have a jam up. Tap it again, take the water away. Now we've done some more damage to my farm. So this is supposed to be... Oh, ha! That's the problem right there. We must have lost that when I was demonstrating the water dispenser earlier and I didn't notice. Something is still wrong. Aha. There we have it. So I will upload this video anyways, but I will learn how to edit in the coming week and cut out all of that nonsense and then re-upload it. You can see just how productive this farm really is. Washes everything in. Oh. You will get that bug occasionally. Let me turn this off. So you probably witnessed that bug there where this dispenser did not pick its water back up. That's why we placed this button here. It can jam it up. There is a way to fix that. Excuse me again. You can take and move your dispensers back one block and then use a slab or a stairway, or excuse me, just a stairs, and you'll waterlog through that and the water will still flow, and then that tends to fix that bug if you're getting it often. Otherwise, just put glass here, move your dispensers and they're lined back one block, it's no problem. um, you could you would get rid of this concrete and run the redstone right over top of your dispensers here instead. But that's all I've got for you this week. I apologize for the quality of my voice and the lack of enthusiasm, but I am the White Sun Paladin, and I am wishing you blessings on your next adventure. And I'm off to my next quest as well. So thank you again for all of the subs and likes, and I will see you next time.